Final item 10D, authorize the city manager to enter into a second exclusive negotiating rights agreement with OTO Development, LLC.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I'll be delivering this report, and the city manager will be available to answer questions and make comments as appropriate. So this item represents the next step in the development of and construction of a select service hotel on the remaining crossing site. A little bit of history. The City Council has been very interested for many years in bringing a new hotel to that site, and not just for visitors who might be rushing to and from SFO, but also for residents and families who live here in our community. The City Council's vision was that that hotel would provide about 3,000 square feet of conference space and banquet space for banquets, meetings, parties, and events that members of the community could take advantage of if they wished. Unfortunately, the site itself is relatively small, and the size of the hotel that can be built there, which is only about 140 to 150 rooms, is much smaller than what was originally envisioned for a larger site. A luxury, full-service, 500-room hotel was originally envisioned there. But unfortunately, those smaller hotels, the select service ones of 140, 150 rooms, generally only find it economical to provide meeting space that's in the 1,000 to 1,500 square foot range. So not very much, and certainly not enough for a large banquet or birthday party or anniversary. So what that meant is, with a desire by the City Council to have the hotel be a community asset, is it meant fewer rooms possible for the hotel. Well, fewer rooms means less revenue for the hotel. And in addition to that, because the site is very small, there's not enough room above ground for all the required parking. And so now the developer has to dig and provide very expensive underground parking to provide what's required by the city. So as a result of that, it became apparent that what the city needed and wanted for its community and its residents might not be economically feasible for a private developer to fund 100% of. So the solution to consider was to think about some amount of public participation to ensure that a relatively small hotel could be built within these constraints, the size of the lot, the parking, and the community meeting space, while also providing a relatively large meeting space for residents. So in 2012, the city issued a request for proposals, went through an extensive vetting process to pick a developer, and they selected OTO. And at that time, shortly thereafter, you authorized the city manager to negotiate what's called an exclusive negotiating rights agreement. And that was the agreement that I guess I would say launched the development of the hotel. And so a lot of things have been accomplished since that time, as we detailed in the staff report. The EIR, the draft EIR, is now completed and out for public review. We're all very excited about that. There's been a lot of significant site work and planning for the property. Drawings have been prepared, and then OTO also obtained confirmation for the Marriott flag, which was an important aspect. In the meantime, the city hired its own independent economic consultant to evaluate what level of public participation would be necessary and what is the minimum level of public participation necessary for this hotel to be built. And what they came up with was a number of about $3.896 million. And that was based on the fact that the site was small, underground parking would be required, additional meeting space was desired, and then plus, if there's anything more than an insignificant subsidy amount from the city, it triggers a prevailing wage requirement. So that increased the construction costs. So that $3.9 million approximately includes the land, which the city currently owns, and it'd be proposed that the land be transferred to them. A waiver of some permit fees in the amount of about $650,000, and about 2 years worth of a transient occupancy tax holiday. In other words, the hotel wouldn't pay TOT for about 2 years, and that's another $1.7 or $8 million. The independent consultant also confirmed that starting when the hotel was finished, the city would get significant economic benefits in the amount of about $850,000 a year for the life of the hotel. That includes new property tax, TOT, once the 2-year holiday is over, and then sales tax on their operations. So if you do the math, it ends up that within about 5 years of the construction of the hotel, the city would break even. That's what the economic consultants report told us. And the city council previously reviewed that information, and then staff had discussions based on your direction with OTO, based on that direction, and that was an amount that they felt would make the hotel economically viable. So tonight, we're recommending, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one thing, which is that the consultant also recommended that once the hotel is built and you know what the room rates are, what the occupancy is, what the construction costs are, that the amount of any subsidy that the city were to offer be trued up, so to speak, so that way, if the hotel is wildly more successful than the economic model predicted, that there would be potentially either a refund of some of those funds, or that you wouldn't have to pay for as long as, rebate for as long as 2 years on the transient occupancy tax. So tonight what we're doing is requesting that you provide the city manager with authority to enter into a second exclusive negotiating agreement. The first one's expired by its own terms. The parties knew that, understood that, didn't have a problem with it because the project was proceeding. But the new ENA would include these basic terms that we've talked about, and it would authorize the city manager to then move forward and negotiate what's called a DDA, a disposition and development agreement. That's what's going to come to you for final action sometime in the fall, and that has to be vetted at the public hearing, and there's other approvals that are required for that. But in the meantime, we think it would be a good idea, give the developer a little more certainty, give the city a little bit more certainty in the process as it moves forward, to authorize the city manager to negotiate the basic terms of this, recognizing that they're all subject to not only your final approval, but also the final results of the environmental impact report and other development approvals that'll be needed. So in a nutshell, that's the request for tonight, and the city manager and I are happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff at this time?
Through the chair.
Michael?
On the statement in the report that says that the tax holiday could be adjusted, could you dig a little deeper into the language that would be in the agreement?
We will. We can't tonight, and the reason for that is because this is sort of the first effort that we will have made with the developer to negotiate those terms. But what the consultant has recommended is something along the following lines: that they would provide us at the conclusion of construction, that we would agree on some period of time that they could be in operation, that they would provide us with documentation of all the construction costs and as well as occupancy. They have to do that anyway for business license tax purposes. So they would provide us with all of that information. And there would be a second go around by one of the consultants to true those numbers up and say, well, the hotel cost a little more to build than you anticipated, but on the other hand, the room rates were higher than we modeled and the occupancy was higher, so it's a wash. Or it comes out to be somewhat in the city's favor. It's possible it could come out to be in the hotel's favor. But that's something that we'd have to work on, and it would come back to you in any event for review and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Ken?
What if the property sells? Is there a chance that they could sell it? Every property in that development has sold and experienced a large profit. So are we locked into the Marriott brand? And so if it stays with that name, are they capable of selling it to other investors or something, as long as they keep that brand? And if they make a large profit, say they're just lurking out there and they see that the success is building or whatever, and they like the location and it's booming, and so they pay off whatever the complaint was that they've invested, or the argument that they've invested in, and all of a sudden, they've made tidy profit on the project. Do we
Yeah,
have it
that's-
out?
That's an excellent point, Councilmember Ibarra, and that's something I think our economic consultants would say that we should share in that, what they refer to as a home run. So if they get some sort of windfall as a result of that, we should get part of that grand slam. Thank you for pointing that out.
Anything else? Action by the council?
Just get comments?
No. All right.
Marty Medina, Garden Avenue. Find it amazing with property values, the way they're skyrocketing, that is it $1 that we're selling at the property? $1. So we're gonna get the money back in 5 years, that the 4 million that we're forgiving or waiving. But we don't have the property, it's no longer ours. How much is that property worth? And who hired, who's this person, this independent consultant that we hired? And did the developer ask for the money first, or how did that relationship develop? That we are out hiring somebody, and how much did it cost for us, for that consultant to tell us that we need to give away $4 million?
I would just like to say that we've been dealing with this more than 3 years. We've been dealing with this for almost 10 years, and being on the subcommittee, yes, there is an education on how we invest, and this council and subsequent councils have wanted to have this flagship, this hotel, this amenity in the city, and we knew that there would be an investment. And when the developers, the previous property owners said, we need out, we don't want to look for another hotel, we don't want to develop it, it's yours. And so we purchased it, and I believe we purchased it for a song at $1.4 million. And so we had every intention of using it as leverage because of redevelopment going away. So this is creative financing, in my opinion, at the best. And to get what we want without putting up another office building, without putting up more apartments, this is something that San Bruno does not have. And I think this is, with the economy the way it is, it'll probably pay off even faster than 5 years. So I think it's a very prudent and very smart decision that we've pursued in this.
I agree. We had some real issues with trying to get people, in fact, in the little strip where Jack's is now. We had a lot of people interviewed and stuff. Nobody take us up on it because we didn't fit into their cookie cutter. We had some local people, for instance, the people that own Jack's, the Marcovisis, come to us and say, we're local, we want to do this. We had the big plot of land left there. The developer didn't want to do anything with it. He just wanted to unload it. We got it for a very cheap price. And it is, in fact, our opportunity to go forward and work something, as Ken said, creative financing, to get what we wanted. Because we promised this community a hotel, some place that they could actually use themselves with some meeting space, so that there's nothing in this city where somebody could have a wedding, a christening, a meeting, and we promised that to the community, and I'm determined to give it to them. We have a hotel management company that wants to build right there. It's a nice design, underground parking, costing them a fortune, but I think it'll be a real gem for this city. It's the last big piece of developable land that we have. So, Irene?
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that we had a specific plan that we developed through the advisory board of people in the community, and that plan went on the ballot, and that people voted for it. And part of the big piece of that was a hotel that had the meeting rooms and a room for holding your wedding or your anniversary party or whatever. So it wasn't just us sitting up here saying, yeah, that's what we want. It really came from a long line and a long time of people giving us their input.
Right.
If I could add, OTO, what we've learned, is a very reputable and very successful developer of hotels, and especially Marriott brand hotels.
Okay, any other comments or action by the council?
So with that, I'll approve it. Or
So this would be a motion
move to approve the city manager, move to authorize the city manager to enter into a second exclusive negotiating rights agreement with OTO, with the provisions as said.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?